The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.
Say what's on my mind at any given time of day, cause I'm a renegade. Never been afraid to holler about anything.
All right, welcome in to a very special edition of Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky, and March Madness is well underway. The madness has started.
I know, it's getting already kind of crazy. We were out to eat at... And while we were there at Buffalo Wild Wings, we were watching some of this Purdue game, and it's an overtime right now. Little Rock leads Purdue 73-72, 1:30 left in the game. Purdue just missed a three, so it's Little Rock ball. So yeah, it's been crazy, and there's already been some upsets earlier today.
My bracket is going great. I don't know. How about yours?
Yeah, it's already busted. It'll be even worsely busted if Purdue ends up losing this game.
I need Purdue to lose to continue my good bracket so far.
The one game you picked wrong was Yale,
which
everyone
that
did.
Was a pretty close game too.
Everyone picked that wrong. That's 2 years in a row that Baylor's lost in the first round of the tournament. Purdue makes a layup. They lead by one. We'll keep you updated on all those. We'll take a look right now at some of the other games that happened earlier today. Kansas with an easy win over Austin Peay, 105-79. So,
and as you said, teams aren't supposed to be scoring 100 points in
teams don't
tournament
score
games.
100. I mean, they barely score 100 in a regular season game, but that just shows you how good Kansas is. A lot of people are picking them to win the championship, but it's really wide open. I have them going to the championship game and losing to Michigan State. We'll see how that goes. Virginia with an easy win, just as easy as Kansas's.
That's what happens when you're the number one seed playing a 16.
Right. Virginia wins 81-45. Virginia's had some trouble in the tournament the last couple of years, but they get past the first round, which they usually do. And then here's the big upset from earlier today. Yale beating Baylor 79-75, so Ivy League school moving on to the round of 32.
And that was the first tournament win in school history for Yale.
Yeah, that is very true, and that's kind of crazy. Iowa State beat Iona by 13. That game was closer than the final score would tell you. I was rooting for Iona, but every time, and I picked Iona, but every time they made a lead, every time they started to make a rally, they shot themselves in the foot, and they couldn't make free throws down the stretch, and they ended up losing by 13. But they were only down by 5 or 6 at one point.
Duke was another team that was down at halftime and came back with a big win.
Yeah, Duke wins by 8, 93-85. UNC Wilmington gave them a good game, but Duke prevailed as they should have. UConn with a nice win over Colorado. They were trailing at halftime too. I think they were trailing by 9.
I think they were losing by 11 actually.
Yeah, it could have been 11. They win 74-67. They're the best free throw shooting team in the nation, the UConn Huskies. And so when you hear that, I mean that's another reason why they won those 2 championships and why they always seem to go pretty far. It's because free throws down the stretch. That's probably the most important thing in the tournament.
So in other words, don't fall behind and have to follow them so they can make those free throws.
Right. And the other game, the Butler Bulldogs get a win over Texas Tech, 71-61. So that's a Big East team moving on. I picked Texas Tech, which I shouldn't have.
You had a Big East team losing in the first round.
I did, and it's because I hate them. I hate Butler. They're always they've been in the league for 3 years. They're my least favorite team in the Big East. I like almost every other team in the Big East. I do not like Butler. I don't like their players. But a lot of them are leaving next year, so maybe I'll like them a little more. I liked them more when they had Brad Stevens and they weren't in the conference. I think they were in. Oh boy, I don't know what. I think they were in the Horizon League.
Why did they move up to the Big East?
That's when the Big East reformed, and Syracuse and Louisville and all of them moved to like the ACC and stuff, or the American Conference like UConn did.
They realized they were better than the teams in the Big East.
Yeah, kind of, but it's still a pretty good conference. Later on today, let's see. game, the only other game underway right now is Miami and Buffalo, and that's
Which
just started.
As you said, Miami should win that game. I have them winning.
I have them winning, too. They're a pretty good team. They have a great coach. They have some really good players, some big players, NBA caliber, so we'll see. And then tipping off in 3 minutes, Chattanooga and Indiana. That should be easy for Indiana, although Indiana's had some trouble in the tournament in the past. So I don't know. 6:20, Florida Gulf Coast against UNC. That's another number 1 seed playing today. So that's 3 out of the 4 playing tonight.
Let's get
that's
those blowouts out of the way.
Yeah. The other games that are very interesting, the most interesting one is Wichita State and Arizona. I feel like that's pretty evenly matched, and Wichita State should probably be higher than an 11 seed. Arizona is pretty much where they should be with a 6. But that's going to be a very close game. That's at 8:20. The line is even for that game, so that tells you really how close it's.
Yeah, what's it? That a six seed against an 11 seed,
yep.
And that doesn't even tell the story. I mean, all the teams that make it to this tournament are good. Just because they're ranked number 15 or as a 15 seed or a 14 seed, they're still a good team.
Right.
And those are the games that are tough to pick are those 6 and 11s, the 8 and the 9s, the 7 and the 10s, the 5 and the 12s. Those are the really hard ones to
5
pick.
and 12. There's always a 12 to beat a 5, and in this case, there could be 2 if Little Rock holds. If Little Rock wins, they're down by 2. Going in for the tying layup, they get it. Tied 75, 17.8 seconds left. Little Rock and Purdue.
This game might be headed for double overtime.
We'll see if Purdue ends up calling a timeout. They have 2.
They should have called one at the end of regulation.
I think the player inbounding the ball thought they were going to call
Little Rock hit a crazy 3 to tie it with 5 seconds left, and then the Purdue inbounded the ball, and the guy just stood there. He inbounded and then just stood there. As Ryan said, he probably thought they were taking one of their 2 remaining timeouts.
But I guess not. But they just used one now. Fresno State and Utah later on tonight. That's going to be interesting. Utah has a really good player. Last name is Bonham, but I forget what his first name is. But that'll be a close game, I would say. Stony Brook at Kentucky. That should be no problem for Kentucky. Providence and USC. USC is I can't believe that they're an 8. I didn't think they were very good this year. They're 21 and 12 losses, and Providence played pretty well all year. They've got 2 great players on their team, and they're a 9 seed, so they're technically underdog in that game, even though they're favored by 2. But seeding-wise, it would be an upset. Providence should win that. And then Gonzaga and Seton Hall. That's another Big East team, Seton Hall. That's 11 versus 6. Gonzaga's favored by 2 just because they've had tournament success. I'm telling you, Seton Hall's going to win this game.
Are you sure?
I'm 99% sure Seton Hall will win this game.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Ryan. And I know you picked Gonzaga, but they haven't played that well this year. In my opinion, they haven't played as well as they should have in the Big West. I think they're in the Big West or maybe the Mountain West. I don't know. But I don't think they're going to win. So Little Rock and Purdue are tied with 11 seconds left in overtime. I think our feed is probably delayed by a couple seconds, you would think, just because we're watching it online instead of live on television. So Purdue is going to hold for the last shot, it looks like. 5 seconds left. Let's see what they do. Layup, no good. Rebound, Little Rock. We go to double overtime. Double overtime.
Wow.
Unbelievable. A 12 and a 5 going to double overtime. There's already a 12 that won today. That was Yale. So, yeah, there could be 2 12s winning in a matter of hours within each other, which is something that does not happen very often. So that's going to be crazy. What we're going to do now is we'll take a short break. We'll come back and we'll discuss stuff not college basketball related. We'll talk about the Cubs and spring training, and then also at 7 o'clock, who do we have calling in, Ryan?
We have Aaron Lemming. He is a Bears analyst. We're going to be discussing the Bears free agent signings, the trade of Martellus Bennett, and then previewing the draft.
Yep, so that'll be coming up at 7. We'll be talking spring training and also keeping you updated on this Little Rock Purdue game. Up until then, also our live fantasy baseball draft is scheduled for 7:30 So that'll take up the last half hour of our show. So make sure you stay tuned for that as well. You're listening to the Sports Renegades, SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.